This is Attorney Moon Jong-Tak. How do you find my outfit today? Considering my social and economic status, you might think this is not something I would wear, and you might misunderstand. Can you see this outfit? I used to do runway shows and such. This is a gift from designer Kim Bowman of Blue Tambourine. In my opinion, it was a bit too much to wear casually, but it fits perfectly for today's video, so I decided to wear it. The topic we'll discuss today is, yes, Snow White and the Prince on a white horse. However, this prince on a white horse is almost worn out, and Snow White, what does 백세울 mean? This is 백슬. Let's put snow on white porcelain. It's Snow White, but hasn't Snow White's face gotten quite tanned? Can you see it? It's starting to show faintly. It was released on March 19th of last week. It's expected to be almost a box office failure. The production cost is a whopping $250 million. That's about 3 times 70 billion won in our currency. Disney poured an enormous amount of money into making it, but I almost see it as Disney committing a breach of trust against its shareholders. Let me explain the reason for that. Aren't I also the president of the Seoul Bar Association's film club? If the response is good today, I'll try to do reviews and evaluations of other movies without spoilers. I would appreciate your interest in sharing. If you watch until the end, you'll gain some insights. Now, first, this movie started with casting controversies. Snow White, as I mentioned earlier, suddenly, a Latina actress, Rachel Zegler, was cast for this role. Have you seen West Side Story? In that, the role itself was for a Latina actress, and she was 16 years old at the time. Back then, she was very girlish. They say her acting skills are good. The issue is whether she fits the character of Snow White. As I mentioned earlier, it's Snow White. The original story is Snow White. It means a princess as white as snow. So, in fact, these kinds of meme images circulate. Can you see it? It's Samuel Jackson dressed as Snow White. Why didn't they just cast a black person instead? These kinds of discussions also arise. In this case, rather than adapting an existing original work into a movie, it would be better to create something new. Can you see the examples? Here, Pocahontas, Mulan, and Princess Jasmine are all culturally diverse and represent different ethnicities, while also promoting diversity. These Disney animations were all successful. However, they are going with Snow White having dark skin. This completely breaks the original work, and it's not just about changing the skin color, but it completely dismantles the character itself. The queen, the beautiful queen, jealousy. Why would the beautiful queen be jealous of an unattractive Snow White? From here, the plausibility completely collapses. They should switch the roles of the queen and Rachel Zegler. Switching them seems to fit better, or completely change the clothes and hairstyle. That remains unchanged. So, it doesn't feel right at all. There's a movie that comes to mind when thinking about this madness. What could it be? Yes, it's The Little Mermaid. It's a black actress named Halle Bailey, not Halle Berry. People were like, oh, what is this? Back then. People were saying things like that, but there's nothing you can do. Movies are a visual art form, so the attractiveness of the actor is very important. Kids reportedly cried after watching The Little Mermaid, saying it looked more like a real fish than a mermaid. While we shouldn't focus solely on appearances, the results speak for themselves. It was a complete box office failure. Despite the huge budget, it ended up being a total loss. But why is Disney repeating this? They are pushing PCism to the point of almost being politically ill. Politicness. Political correctness. Yes, if that's the case, they should make propaganda films. Why are they destroying children's fairy tales and making them strange like this? In doing so, it's not just a princess anymore, but a lesbian, transgender, LGBT, I think it's okay for all those things to be included. Moreover, the lead actress, Rachel Zegler, has been involved in a lot of controversies regarding the original Snow White cartoon, and it's strange, according to Beard. It's strange for a lead actress to say that the original work of the movie she's in is weird. And then there's talk about the prince being like a stalker. Just because I wear this doesn't make me a prince, but there's even a meme about it saying, grow up on your own. It shows a bewildered expression. Criticisms can arise about women being saved by men, like Sleeping Beauty waking up, or the prince on a white horse. These can be seen as giving women a negative test of masculinity. In that case, it would have been better to modernize it in a different way rather than using the Snow White theme. But since they use the image and name of Snow White while completely breaking the original, people feel betrayed. They feel like they've been deceived. So, from the perspective of a mom bringing her kids, why release it as Snow White in the first place? That's why such criticism arises. Now, there were issues with the casting of the main actors, but even stranger is the problem with the characters of the 7 dwarfs. It's truly baffling. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs are important, right? But Disney? Then shouldn't they hire actors with dwarfism to help overcome discrimination and have them appear in the film? I mean, they spend 360 billion won, but can't pay the appearance fees for people with dwarfism? All the dwarfs shown here are CGI. They're not real actors. Do you know Kupang Play from Game of Thrones? For those who deliver for Kupang, there's Kupang Play. HBO is famous, right? You can watch all of HBO's dramas. Have you seen Game of Thrones? I highly recommend the game option. You must watch Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, there's an actor named Peter Dinklage who actually has dwarfism. He's famous. The role itself is the youngest of the Lannister family with dwarfism. But in the drama, he was referred to as a dwarf, yet he never forgot his role as the biggest goose. Peter Dinklage, who played this role, also said that Disney's actions are actually taking away opportunities from actors with dwarfism. He talked about it in this way. Such actions, I'll say it again, it's always the same thing. What is true diversity? Diversity is not just about changing skin color or appearance. It's not about changing white skin to black skin or giving pretty roles to unattractive actors. Isn't true diversity about giving opportunities to those who can best understand and portray the character? The role of the seven dwarfs is an incredibly valuable character for actors with dwarfism. But then they say, let's change it because it might be a prejudice, and they end up creating everything with CGI? Isn't that even more violent? So this Snow White is just performative PC culture. This is the kind of criticism it's receiving. True diversity, recognition, and equality mean giving roles of black characters to black actors and roles of dwarf characters to actors with dwarfism. However, by changing all the dwarf characters to CGI, this time, while claiming it's PC, they have completely deprived actors with dwarfism of opportunities, which is why it's receiving even more criticism. Third, when characters are altered in this way, the original work gets distorted. The controversy over the distortion of the original work is quite significant. For example, attempts to change Snow White from a passive character to an active one are seen as acceptable. However, when appearance is involved in this attempt, like when the queen asks the mirror, who is the fairest of them all, it shows Snow White's colleague. It's even harder to accept that the queen would agree. The audience also finds it hard to accept, and they say the fairest is the one with the most beautiful inner self. That's what's happening. It's like drinking alcohol, but not driving under the influence. Isn't the queen originally a woman obsessed with appearance and superficial beauty? That's why she thinks she must kill someone prettier than herself. It's an extreme approach, but focusing on inner beauty, then why not compete in good deeds and volunteer work? It just doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense, it ends up damaging the original work and can't be collected. So, what is the audience's reaction to this? After all, movies aren't made just for oneself to watch. They're made to attract a large audience, succeed at the box office, and generate profit. The first trailer for Snow White, that is, the teaser, surpassed 140 million views. It's truly phenomenal. And surprisingly, there's something called IMDb. Is it a database? Think of it as a database. And it's easy to remember. People who have watched movies or dramas leave reviews here, but you need to sign up as a member to do so it's reliable. But can you see it? The worst of all time was a movie that failed by turning Dragon Ball into a live-action film. Was it Dragon Ball Evolution? Beyond that, if it scores 2 out of 10, you can guess what the audience wants to say, right? This movie has failed. Let's proceed. The director of this movie is Mark Webb. What movies might you remember from him? Yes, he is the director who made The Amazing Spider-Man, so he is somewhat specialized in action. However, he also made charming romantic films well. His debut was 500 Days of Summer. Whether the director went crazy or Disney intended to ruin it, or they clumsily adhered to political correctness, the casting of Snow White was completely botched, and they made the dwarfs with CGI, resulting in a strange CGI mix, and it failed. I can't help but compare it to Frozen, the animation that led Disney's golden age. Frozen was also based on Anderson's The Snow Queen. However, unlike Snow White, which carries the title but features a Latina woman who is not pretty, but has a beautiful heart, and continues with an unconvincing story, Frozen had a clear theme of overcoming fear with love, as seen in Let It Go, Let It Go. They prepared. There were many such amazing theme songs. Elsa and Olaf were incredible characters. The character rescue story was also a huge hit. Back in the day, kids were all excited to wear those costumes. Wasn't that what brought them joy? And does it, Elsa, rely on a man there? Anna, the sister, thought he was a prince, but he turned out to be a strange guy. Amazingly, it surpassed 10 million viewers. It is completely compared to Snow White. If they had created charming characters like in Frozen, with an attractive OST, and a strong character that doesn't rely on a man, it would have been better. Instead, they awkwardly dragged along a pretty princess, Snow White, without properly showcasing her inner beauty, which is very disappointing. When political correctness covers everything, it essentially becomes a form of violence. There's no value, no charm, no cute characters. The dwarfs are all CGI. The original story is ruined. It becomes distracting, and it disappoints people. If they broke the core of the original, they should have been able to set it right, but it's forced. It seems they were caught up in delusions, trying to cover everything with political messages, and it failed. This is like the second live-action version of Snow White and the Little Mermaid. If it fails once, it's a mistake, but if it fails again, it's intentional. I think all the people who planned this Disney Snow White should be fired. In terms of approval ratings, it's essentially a breach of trust. Spending 3,601 to create such a failure, especially after The Little Mermaid failed, and now this, I believe there is responsibility to be taken. It's quite funny to criticize appearance-based standards while experiencing the approval ratings of Snow White, and it's absurd to block opportunities for talented actors under the guise of natural storytelling. Such a conservative movie is unlikely to succeed. What do you all think? There must be some of you who found Snow White incredibly moving. If you leave a comment to counter my view, I will take it into consideration. I mentioned that I am the president of the Movie Review Association of Lawyers CO, right? Do you see the photos? I go to the cinema to watch at least 1 or 2 movies every month, and at home, I watch one before going to bed. If today's response is good, I will continue to share my reviews of upcoming movies, without spoilers, of course. How did you like the outfit I wore today as my prince's attire? If you leave malicious comments, I won't report them, but they will be deleted, so please be careful. If you agree with me, please share with others not to watch Bagso Princess, or share it if you think they should watch it. This has been Lawyer Moon Jong-Tak from Moon Jong-Tak TV. Thank you.